Speaking of DRM, Destroyed asked a question that on the surface seems like it's a very simple, straightforward question, but to answer it's not quite so straightforward. The question is DRM a factor in your video gaming purchase? Were this, say, 5, maybe 10 years ago, I would have said no. It's non-intrusive for the most part, at least for what I've played on PC and on the consoles. I tend to be a legally paying customer, so I usually don't have to tap dance around these sorts of situations here. But, you know, my souring of some of this stuff started off with Blizzard and StarCraft 2. Then it moved on to Ubisoft because most of their AAA titles, when they were migrating servers that were the authentication, servers that were the online component of the always online DRM, when that was down, legally paying customers could not play their games that they legally paid for. Meanwhile, the people who did not legally pay for their games could play their games all day long without any sort of interruptions, any sort of problems, any sort of major issues. Not that I'm, again, supporting it, but at the end of the day, you know, there's so much bullcrap that comes with it. It's part of why, for a long time, I stopped watching DVDs. I got so sick of renting or buying DVDs and being like, you wouldn't download a Ferrari. Although, as said to some of those videos, one of my favorite comments is, well, if I would, I could. And as I've said, the funny irony to that comment is, with schematics, enough materials, and a 3D printer, you kinda could. Kind of. But I digress. I mean, you can create and make working firearms, for frick's sakes. But I digress. But now, absolutely is DRM will influence any of my purchases, especially for PC. Because, as I said, this industry slyly has shifted its business model, which is what's going to be funny when I get to an article by a well-known developer about the PS4. But I digress. Where they're not in the business of selling you games, they're in the business of renting you the content. Or they're not selling you games so much as services, which is the new buzzword in the industry to try to be their get-out-of-jail-free card to hand to you, so that when you come rightfully complaining about the BS stuff you're having to go through as a paying customer, they can point to terms of service and say, suck our dicks, you know, for lack of a better term. And it's ridiculous. This is not the industry I grew up with, and I think, as I've been thinking about this entire thing, that's the entire point. Some people are afraid to let the industry die because jobs. Kind of like Jim Sterling, which was a part of why I didn't like part of his Jimquisition about the always online DRM and the SimCity debacle. I liked that he's talking about that this is not a sustainable business model that they're doing now. And it's not. I know it's not. Most of you know it's not. But the main reason why Sterling keeps saying that we need to somehow continue to hold up the industry is because the industry will take the wrong message from poor game sales and fire or close studios. They do that anyways. If the Metacritic scores don't add up, they withhold people's bonuses, or worse, they just close down the studio and absorb its assets as best as it can, which is disgusting in and of itself. But the other part of it is that's business terrorism. They're basically holding a gun to our favorite developers' heads and saying, buy our games, even with the DRM, or we will close these studios down, making it like it's our fault for their bad business practices, which to a degree, since they get their money anyways, at least so far, it is partially our fault, which is part of what this video is going to be about. But, you know, so there's that. Or we're holding on to it because Mario. We're holding on to it because of Zelda. We're holding on to it because of the arcade. We're holding on to it because of NES, because of Super NES, because of all the things we grew up with and that we loved and we cherished. And I understand that when the video rental places close down completely in my area, we are bone dry. There is not a video store to be found unless I go way over into the next city, and that's not cost effective gas-wise for me to do that just to be able to rent the newest games or the newest services and not have to go by mail. Although again, I like GameFly, but I digress. And in a way, that's what it is. We remember what we had, and we remember our world, and we want to share that with our kids. We want to share that world with our grandkids. I don't blame you. I wanted it. Part of what I'm glad about is that I had my son when I did, in a way, because he got to experience the awesomeness of, yay, it's game night or it's movie night. Get dressed, get all gussied up, go out to the video store, peruse the collections. Sometimes they had what we were really looking for. Sometimes it was rented out, but sometimes you could find something obscure, which was sometimes good, sometimes bad, or sometimes so bad it was good. I loved that experience. It was a big part of me, as is gaming. Gaming is absolutely a big part of me. It's a part of my interest. It's a part of my love. It's been a part of my life. But eventually I had to realize I'm so nostalgic that I'm willing to uphold things that I know are doing me harm, metaphorically speaking, of course, because of the nostalgia. And I think ultimately that's what it comes down to. We're afraid that the industry that we're holding up because of memories, not because of the quality of the games, because I'm sorry, you're going to have to go far and wide to show me where there is quality in most mainstream gaming. It's fewer and far between, and considering all the problems I've had with the console gamings, with freezes, with patches, with having to unpatch and undownload or uninstall the game data, and even the PC with SimCity, this is becoming the thing where it's almost like they're testing the waters. How many more times can they kick you in the crotch before you say, you know, I can't feel anything below my legs. Maybe this was a bad thing to support them doing this to me, and I was giving them my money. You know, because right now we're stuck in the, we should do something. Should we do something? We should do something. Should we do something? Kind of phase of things, and I'm at the point of just saying, no, I'm sorry, Jim. I'm not going to stand for business terrorism, nor am I going to let nostalgia rule me so badly to the core that I'm supporting an industry that needs reassignment, that needs to crash so that it can be reborn, like in 1983, to give us a bigger, bolder, better experience. Because it's not happening. And from what I'm seeing of the specs and what I'm hearing from devs, about the PS4, I'm absolutely not seeing a change in business model, or at least not change to a business model that's good. Because you see, the gaming industry slowly slid away from being an industry that is selling a product to an industry that is a rental place. Except for, unlike those brick and mortar video stores that I so miss, they're not telling you this up front. They're implying it and then telling it to you in the fine print. When did this happen? When did this honestly happen? Why do I need a lawyer present at time of purchase to make sure that the terms of agreement are satisfactory for both parties? When did this become like almost a legal business transaction instead of just you supply a quality product, I pay for it, You get my money, I get enjoyment, we're both happy. That's not the industry we have right now, and it's not the way that the industry is heading. I don't know about you, but I would rather be told, at least with GameFly, I know I'm renting this game unless I explicitly buy it, and they give me that option. There is no ambiguity here. I know that they can give or they can revoke the game at any time if I decide to break the terms of service. And you know what? I understood that. They're not shafting me. I like GameFly for the most part. I don't like where the gaming industry is going. And I don't believe I have to pay into a luxury entertainment industry, excuse me, that cares more about its bottom line, not even its bottom line, because its bottom line's not been affected by piracy in the ways in which they claim that it is. They care way more about their imaginary, overly inflated bottom line than the customer experience. If SimCity doesn't teach you this, if hell, Aliens vs. Predator on the consoles as well as PC does not teach you this, then you obviously don't care, or you're stuck too far in your nostalgia to realize that the industry crashing, and I'm not saying that I relish the idea of artists in mass losing their jobs, but this cannot continue. Whether we're purposely trying to support it just to keep the industry afloat or not, it's gonna sink whether we're supporting it or not. And myself, I'm sorry, I got a budget. And that budget doesn't include just pissing away money on stuff that, honestly, I don't need in my life. I love you, gaming industry, but you really broke my heart, and you broke my balls. I don't stand for either of those, and most of you out there shouldn't either. It shouldn't take something like SimCity for us to realize what's really going on with the gaming industry. But sadly it is, and I'm done with it.